Hey guys, I'm Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop, and this week we have special guest Gudrun Erla, and she's gonna demo her Stripology Ruler, which is like what she's known for. We're gonna have like a demo, we're gonna show quilts, we're gonna show her books, her patterns, and then we're gonna take questions. We've already got some questions. I'm gonna kind of give her the show so she can show everything about Stripology, since I don't know a thing about it. And she's also gonna be at QuiltCon this week, so if you're at QuiltCon, she'll have a booth.
Yes, set up tomorrow. Thanks for having me, by the way. It's fun to be here. So I think the biggest thing, people just want to see a demo, and based on the questions that had come in before, a lot of it was about how do we avoid getting the little elbows and little kinks in our strips, cutting strips with a ruler. But I want to first, because I'm going to demo the XL, which is the newest one. So I want to just explain how it's different from this is the original. So what we did with the XL, so the three that we had before was the original, and then the squared, and then the mini. So what we did with the XL is we took the original and combined the original and the square into the XL. So it's the same width as the original, but the same height as the squared. So with that, we also combined all the features of the other two into the XL, but then added some more. So it's kind of the big kahuna, I should say. It kind of does it all.
Fancy.
So, yes. And so people, one of the biggest misconceptions about the Stripology rulers too is that people think it's only for cutting strips. But it does everything. This should be the tool that you use for all of your cutting, and not just for my patterns, whatever pattern you're working on. So because it no, I can't even talk because we're live. But it really changes the way you do everything. So cutting your strips and then subcutting them into squares and rectangle like you would do with any pattern, that just saves you a lot of time. But the biggest and best part is that it makes you so much more accurate. So let me just do a quick little demo on the basics. And so that first question about how, because we have to fold our fabrics into fourths. So how do we fold it and make sure that we don't get any elbows in our strips? So you want to take your fabric, and obviously if your fabric comes off the bolt really crooked, which we all know it happens a lot, I take my whole piece and I iron it really well, and then I just realign it so that the selvages are semi-aligned and kind of make a new bolt fold so it's really straight. Then I take that bolt fold, and you want to fold it all the way over the selvages, because what is important for us when we fold our fabrics into fourths and for our strips to be straight is that this bolt fold that we folded up here and now the new fold down here, they need to be perfectly parallel for our strips to be straight, and that's really the only thing that matters. So how I achieve that is I fold my fabric, and then I'm going to move this up so we can see it. And then you want to use a line on the ruler, a horizontal line. So we have lines both in black and white. So I'm just going to use this white line because you can see it better on this color fabric. And I'm going to align that with my bottom fold. And then I'm going to look up here to see where my top fold lands and see if it's straight. So it probably will not land exactly on a line, but I can see if it's straight or not. If it's not straight, it's not perfect to me, so I would just then adjust my fold just slightly and then check again. And then it's looking a lot better. So now it is straight. Now I know that all of my strips are going to be perfectly straight with no elbow. So this is the key. Now with the rulers, because they're different from other rulers, because we're cutting through a slit. We're not cutting on the edge of a ruler. We're cutting through a slit. So your blade needs to reach through the ruler, through the fabric. So we need to have at least a 45mm blade or a 60mm blade. And you can use any cutter, whether they are the straight handle or the ergonomic where the squeeze handle. The only cutters I do not recommend using is the ones that you have to push down to get your blade out. Because if you can imagine, if you have to push, then you're gonna start chipping away at your ruler. So pick one that you can manually pull the blade guard back and expose the blade, and then you'll be fine. So the difference between the 60 and the 45 is I recommend no more than 4 to 6 layers of fabric with the 45. And then with a 60mm blade, because it's more amount of blade, you can cut up to 8-10 layers of fabric. So you can be a lot more efficient with a 60, but we're gonna start with the 45. So I align my fabric. The second thing I check too is I wanna have all my raw edges of the fabric to the left of the 0 slit, because that's where we make our first cut that cleans off our edge. So there's no reason to, or no need to square up our fabric before we even fold it. So then you want to place the blade into the teardrops at the bottom. And some people have asked me they have trouble with this one because, and the reason usually is because people start forcing the blade into the grooves. But all you want to do is kind of just drop it into the teardrop, and then make sure before you start pushing to straighten out your cutter, because the slits run this way and your blade needs to be perfectly straight in there too. We can't cut beveled with this ruler, which is a good thing because that's one of the things that makes it more accurate. So I like to kind of lay my cutter a little bit on the side to make sure it's going into that groove or into the teardrop, and then it's kind of settled in there, and then I'm ready to make my first cut. Now, if you're right-handed, this might be a little awkward for right-handed people. It's the first time ever where things are awkward for right-handed people. But because of the grip that we have on the back side, the Creative Grids grip on the whole back side of the ruler, this ruler will not move on your fabric. So all I want you to do is just put 2 fingers on this little lip. I want nothing like this, of course. We don't want any accident. So just 2 fingers here, making this first cut. So now you're ready to make your cuts, cut whatever strip width that you need for your pattern. There's a few shortcuts. You'll notice black squares at the bottom of the ruler every 2.5 inches, and then black stars every 1.5 inches. Should we move this up so you can see it better? Yeah, baby, we'll just do this. So this helps me a lot because I cut a lot of 2.5 and 1.5, and but of course you can cut any width strip that you need. But just to show you how much faster you can be cutting with this ruler, because we're not measuring and moving the ruler every time, we just move our cutter down. So I'm just cutting 2.5-inch strips, but you could be cutting whatever. And as you can see, in about a few seconds you have a bunch of strips done. The best part about it is, for me, is the accuracy, because each and every strip is completely the same size, and we don't have any elbows. Should we check it for elbows? No elbows.
Wow.
So the biggest time saver, like I said, this is so much more than just a strip cutter. Biggest time saver is when I need to subcut my strips. So now I need to cut them into squares or rectangles. Haven't you made a quilt with 400 2.5-inch squares, Kimberly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I like to stack up my strips. So you can make stacks, however many you are comfortable cutting at the same time. And I make multiple stacks. And I like to just use the lines on my cutting mat at first to kind of, you know, so they are kind of laying, oh, this one was a little off.
And then talk about the mat, because I know you helped Creative Grids come up with this new mat.
Yes. So this is the new Creative Grids cutting mats. And we're using the Stripology side, as I call it. And the basic reason for we designed the mat is we wanted a color with both the color of the mat and the lines that wouldn't interfere with any of the Creative Grids lines on their rulers, because all the lines on the rulers are black and white. And so this will not interfere with it. And so it's easier to read your rulers, better on the eyes, and a really nice, thick
Very
material. Thick. And self-healing. They have a kind of a matte surface so your strips don't kind of slide around. And for my side, I wanted no numbers, no extra markings. I just wanted a lot of horizontal lines and some vertical lines, just so I can place my strips and then still be able to see all the lines on my ruler and kind of let that do the work. So even though I laid my strips straight on the lines on the mat, I still want to use the lines on the ruler to make sure that everybody is straight. So I just check with the horizontal lines on the ruler, and you can adjust if need be. But if they look good, then you're ready to cut your squares or rectangles or whatever. So 2.5 inch squares. Should we do that? So we have 6 strips. And so those 400 2.5 inch squares that you needed to cut for a pattern, instead of standing there for half an hour, moving and measuring every time, we got them done in just a few seconds. So.
Oh my goodness.
So here you go. And
that was quick.
It's quick, and the best part is, though, look how accurate they are. That's my favorite part. So,
and you don't have to think, because you just cut at the squares, right?
Yeah, if that's for 2.5, and then we have the 1.5. That's kind of just the common. Now, if you have to cut 3 inch, then you have to count on your kindergarten, count by threes.
Yeah, yeah.
Math. So this, let me tell you just a few things about the extras for this one that we were able to add. So the squared ruler has squaring up features for any size block up to 12.5 inches. And how that works is we have the black lines are for whole inch sizes, and then we have white lines for the 1/2 inch sizes. So you literally find the square of the block that you're going to be squaring up to, and you center that on your block, and you have diagonal lines going through each square. So white lines for the 1/2 inch sizes for white squares, and then black for the black squares. So you can line that up with seams, and then you just make 2 vertical cuts, and then turn your block and do the other 2 sides. So for me, I started using it because I just started using it for everything. And one of the biggest reasons is, you know, when you're trimming a block that has really thick seams, and you put those square rulers on top, and it just starts dancing on top,
right,
and then there's no way to get a straight cut. But the Stripology slits will just lift up. I'm just trying to show this on camera. That's hard. But it will just lift up wherever there's thickness in your seam, and then all the other slits will hold the block in place. So you know the block will stay put, and you're only cutting away from you, so it's much better and much better accuracy. So we added that into the XL. We have the black squares here on this side, and then because it's bigger, I wanted to add a turnaround feature for the 1/2 inch sizes. So we have the white squares on this side, and then the actual block sizes down here that tell you which slits to cut through.
And you just start in the center.
Yep, you just start in the center. So if you have a hourglass block or whatever, you would just lay these lines on the seams, and then if it's an 8.5 inch block, you would just cut through those 2 slits, turn it, and repeat.
And then there's a lot less thinking.
A lot less thinking.
Yes.
And for me, I'm all about being efficient when I'm sewing and in my patterns. So if I can save time on a step that doesn't matter in the end, I will. So I will cut a little bit bigger pieces, so I don't have to worry about, you know, my seam allowance being exactly perfect or any distortion when I'm pressing, because then I can just square up and end up still with a perfectly looking piece, and save some of that sweat and frustration.
Yes.
And so the third thing I wanted to say about the ruler that we added, the original has a 60-degree line and a 45-degree line, so you can cut your strips into diamonds. So I thought I had an extra strip. Yeah, we have an extra strip. I can just show you. So this one,
and the original is now discontinued. So we have a couple left, but once it's done, it's gonna be this now.
Yeah, you know what? There's such a small price difference, and I feel like the size of it, it's the one of the biggest things we comments about the original one is that if you had extra white fabric and you folded it, sometimes it was hard to reach all the way through and get your strips to cut apart. But with this one being so long, you never have to worry about that. And then you have all the squaring up features in it as well. And with the price difference between the two only being like $7 or $6, it just doesn't make sense to make both anymore. So 60-degree diamond. So with the original, you could only cut diamonds because we just had one line. But now that we have this longer ruler, I added lines going the other way too, both the 45 and the 60. So that you can cut those diamonds into triangles. So that means that you can now, I call it, when you take a pattern, any pattern, and it's not written for a Stripology ruler, but we Stripologize it. you start using it. So now you can stripologize some 60-degree triangle, diamond, parallelogram, half hexy patterns using this. So what you do, I conveniently just laid the strip along the 60-degree lines on the mat, so it's at the right angle, and then I just use the 60-degree line on the ruler to align with the bottom of my strip. Now obviously it's not quite straight, so we'll just align it until it's laying straight. And then we're just going to make cuts. So this is a 2.5 inch strip, so I'm just going to make cuts on the 2.5. So we'll start in the 0, and so cut every 2.5 inches. So this will give you 60-degree diamonds. And then if you needed to cut that into triangles, so here's a diamond. We're going to move this little piece. I'll just show you. Here's the diamonds. Now if you wanted to cut this into triangles, if you needed 60-degree triangles, we're going to turn the ruler. Here's our 60-degree line going on the top. So I'm just going to align that now with the top of the strip. And this little line here will align with that cut piece, so you know your position correctly. And then we're just going to repeat the same thing. So going through the 0 and then cutting on the 2.5 increments. And so this could be a strip that you cut from fabric, or it could be a piece strip, so a strip piece strip. So now you got your 60-degree diamonds. Whoa. Or triangles, sorry.
That is so fast.
Yeah.
Oh
right?
my goodness.
Instead of, with those 60-degree rulers, we have to be turning and twisting and
yes.
and all that. So, and the great thing about the size of the ruler, it just holds your fabric in place, so it just doesn't shift, and you're not doing those correctional cuts all the time. So,
like this is me like moving it, it's not moving.
Yeah, exactly. So did we have any specific questions on?
Yeah, we got a few questions.
Okay, great.
First of all, a lot of people are asking for like more in-depth demos on different things about the ruler.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to let everyone know we are actually filming videos with Gudrun today. So we will have more on that later. She also has a YouTube channel, so if you want to check out her YouTube channel.
And so Lily, when do you think those videos would be out? Because that's going to be their #1 question, like a month or 2 months?
It's going to be 1 and 2 months out for a few of them, on the schedule.
If they're eager, so I have, like you said, GE Designs I have a lot of videos on the rulers there.
Yes, and we've just linked her channel in the comments right now.
Okay, awesome.
If you want to check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the first question, Shelly Edwards was asking, can you use decorative blades?
No. So not you probably mean
Stella.
that like the pink blades and stuff like that. No, and those are actually tough to use with regular rulers too. If you have tried it.
I'm scared of those.
Yeah, so you want to use kind of a thicker ruler and that so it's laying above the blade. No, because this slits, and for a reason they're tight. You want them to be tight so that the cuts are going to be more accurate. So you can't not do any decorative blades with this one. But you can use any, like the Martelli cutters work great with it. Like I said, the only cutters I don't recommend are the push down ones.
And those are called Splash, I think, right?
Are they called Splash?
I think they're called
Oh, I
Splash.
think these are Splash.
Yeah, those are the Splash.
Oh, then I don't know. I only use that one rotary cutter. That's the only one I know how to use. I cannot use these. I can't figure it out.
I think it's all about what you start with.
Yeah,
when
and
you
I
start
started
quilting.
with that. Yeah, and I've
that.
tried because I thought, well, what if I'm in a bind or I'm at a retreat and I don't have one? And then I'm like, why am I wasting my time trying to figure it out?
Right, and the one thing that we will address in the videos later, the more detailed videos, is some people have had trouble, not reaching through the fabric, and one of the reasons is it depends on what cutter you're using, because these cutters, you look at it and the widest part of your blade is right at the top, and with these, you pull this out, the widest part of the blade is actually when you're holding it like this, so then the widest part of the blade. So what we need to be careful of as we cut through the ruler is that the widest part of the blade is actually reaching through, and you're not like dropping the angle of the cutter, because if you drop the angle, you lose the blade, and so it lifting off the fabric, because we're cutting through our ruler. It's not like cutting on the side. So same thing with these. We have to make sure that you keep this straight angle all the way through and don't lift that one up or down, because then you lose the blade. So that's, but we will address all that in the more detailed Stripology videos we're doing.
All right. My Fasusten says, do I need the XL when I have the other big one, and what is the main difference?
No, so I mean, if you have the big one and are using it, I think you are completely good. If you don't have this, if you have the squared as well, obviously you'll have the squaring up features on that. The squared is obviously going to be more convenient when you're squaring up like 100 blocks than this one. I love having the features on the big one, just because if I'm just squaring up a few blocks or squaring up something as I go, but obviously moving this one around is going to be more convenient.
And if you have a smaller, if you only have a small space to store stuff,
Yeah.
there's a difference in size.
And a lot of people, like this one to take along to classes and retreats and on their, sewing in their little campers and stuff like that. So it's more portable that way. Because it still does you can cut your strips, you can cut your 1/4 inch. So we only cut 1/2 inch. The slits are 1/2 inch apart, but you can cut 1/4 inch increments too. So that's another thing that we'll talk about in the video, show you exactly how to do that. And very easy to do.
All right. Elise Schultz was asking, are the slits every 1/2 inch?
Yes, they're every 1/2 inch. That does not mean that you can't cut 1/4 inch, because you can. It's very easy to do. And actually, I have a chart here that I was going to show you later on. This one you can just print off my website. There's a small chart that comes with the ruler, but I recommend this one because you can actually see it. And it has more sizes. So any kind of 1/4 inch increment, whether it's strips or squares or rectangles, there's instructions for show you how to do that. And we'll demo that so that, it's always better when we see things with our own eyes, isn't it?
Tammy Richardson was asking, what do you do for 1/4 inch cuts?
That's exactly it. So should we show them?
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, I don't know, what size binding do you like?
I do 2.5.
You do 2.5. So I like 2 1/4. So I'll just show you how I do 2 1/4. So you start just like we did before. We have the fabric folded, and everything is lined up. Everything is looking straight. So I'm good to go. And then I just go to my chart. So here I was doing 1 1/4. So I'm just going to move these so that you can easily see. 2 1/4. And this is the sizes that we're going to do. So I just go to that first column. We always start by cutting through the 0. That cleans off our edge and straightens our fabric. And then we're going to just go to the chart, to that first column. So our first cuts are going to be at 4.5, 9, and 13.5. So 4.5, 9, 13.5, and 18. There we go. So then I'm going to remove that little sliver I trimmed off. And we're just going to slide the ruler to the right. So there's a 1/4 inch line. There's 1/4 inch lines on the side here. On the original, we only have the 1/4 inch line and the squared ruler, but I added 3 here. So I slide it over. So now my fabric is lined up with that 1/4 inch line.
And it says right here, move ruler 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
And cut.
So that was the moving. So then I go to my second column, and I'm going to cut at the 2, the 6.5, and
11, 15.5, and 20.
Yeah, we don't have enough fabric for 20, but that's it. So now we have our 2 1/4. So this would be the exact same if you needed to subcut it into squares or any kind of rectangles. So you would just follow that same chart. But you literally, those second cuts you're cutting between the first cut, so you get those perfect 1/4 inch cuts.
And tell everybody about these stickers and how you use them. I use them all the time at home. They will come off and then come back on.
Yes. These are the ruler stickers. Yeah, so I came up with these because I was having a hard time finding a product so I could mark my rulers, and you can put it in on paper because it peels off of paper. And I wanted something that would stay in place as long as I wanted it to stay in place. And obviously I wanted it to not leave any residue on the ruler. So it comes in the 3 colors. So it doesn't leave any residue on your ruler, no matter if you leave it there for a day, for a week, or a year, it will come off. So it's little arrows. So I like to, if I'm doing a bunch of like odd cuts, like these, I actually just mark exactly the slits that I'm going to be cutting through. So
then you don't make a mistake.
Exactly. So especially if you're doing a strip quilt, you have all these strip sets and you just subcut them all. And, you know, it's a bummer if you've done some piecing and then you cut it wrong and you're out of fabric. So this is really helpful. My favorite part for using it is when I'm squaring up a certain block, because then I can outline the exact size of the square and point at certain things in the block that I'm lining up with. We're going to be showing that on some of the videos we're doing later today. But these are just fabulous, and you start using these and you kind of can't stop. You can't live without them.
And stuff like this, I think is cute. Like if you go to a retreat and you don't want to lose your rotary cutter, you just put a couple stickers on it, and then you're gonna know. Like, and then you don't have to put your ugly initials on it.
Yeah.
With a big old pin.
Well, there's some really fun stories I've heard about how people use these stickers. So one of my favorites was that this lady had just gotten her 90-year-old mom an iPad, and her mom kept calling her to ask her which buttons to push for what. And she was like, there's only 3 buttons on an iPad, really.
Right.
But what she did, she went and put a pink arrow on one, and a green arrow on one, and a blue arrow on one. So when her mom called, she just said, push the green arrow. Because this wouldn't harm, leave any residue on the rulers. I thought that was brilliant.
That's funny.
It is brilliant. Oh my God.
Another one I was teaching on a cruise ship, and you get those drink cups with a clear lid. It was like with the opening that flips back and forth. It's hard to see like which side the opening is on. So one lady resorted to, I saw her, she had an arrow on the top which side to drink from. So that was a great one too. But I've heard some fun stories.
You do a lot of cruises, don't you?
I've done a few, yes. I don't know more than, I'm doing one in this next month actually, and then I'm doing one next year. So one a year is maximum.
That's a lot. For me, that's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah, it's fun. We have fun, a lot of fun.
All right, some nice comments here. Tammy Richardson had said, love your books. Want you to know I am a frequent stripper.
Oh, yes. Stripologist. Now, if you have the ruler, we call him, you're a stripologist.
Yeah, and then Jackie Kosh Schumacher said, proud to be a stripologist.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Kathy Ava said, representing Gudrun's quilt crew.
So okay, awesome. Yes.
From the quilt crew.
So
and that's her Facebook group.
Yeah, Facebook group is Gudrun's Quilt Crew.
And she does Facebook Lives on Fridays, right?
Fridays I do Facebook Live,
Wednesdays?
and then sometimes it's about once or twice a month I do Tipsy Tuesdays.
That's right. I was like, there's one more than Friday.
Yeah. I don't drink on that show though. That's the more proper show.
Yes.
I may or may not drink on the other one.
Jane Brawley was asking what mat sizes are available.
So the mats were made in 4 sizes. We have the largest one here, which is a 24 by 36, and then we have an 18 by 24, which is your common size, which is a little bit bigger than the XL ruler. And then we have a 12 by 18, and then a little tiny trimmer one that's a 6 by 8.
And I'm gonna show them all 4. I'm gonna show all 4 of them to you right now. They're not. Oh, we can take them without the thing, with the plastic.
It's fine with the plastic on it.
We don't have all of them in stock. Checker is who made this, and they sold out so fast with all the quilt shops.
Yes. So we sold out about a 6-month stock that they thought they were ordering, and they sold out in a month.
Yeah.
But there's more on the way, and they should be here. So this is the 12 by 18. This is the little trimmer one. The trimmer one is not double-sided, but it's just the one side. But the other side of it, we're not showing it here. The other side of the mats has like the traditional Creative Grids grid that you're used to on their rulers. But one of the things they added on it is the white. We have white squares every 2.5 inches, and then white stars every 1.5, just like we have on the rulers. So it's pretty cool. Thank you.
And then we had a very funny and random comment from Teresa at the beginning of the live stream. I just wanted to share it. She said, I had a dream about the Fat Quarter Shop film crew. You were shooting a movie about the struggles of the American quilt shop.
Oh, wow.
I guess
Lily can't do that. She can't leave. Then she would be leaving.
No. We would film it as Fat Quarter Shop.
Oh, but we're not going to struggle. No, we don't want to have that dream. We don't want to have that dream.
No.
I got to send my kids to college.
All right, and then we did have a new YouTube member, Tammy Richardson.
Yay!
Welcome, Tammy. So, oh wait, that's Super Chat. Sorry.
Oh,
that's
you
okay.
guys get Super Piggy.
He's so cute.
But she also gets the confetti cannon.
Yay!
And the mats are going to come back in April. That was what I was going to say.
Yeah. Yep. It takes a while because they have to get on a boat.
All right. So this is a good segue. This next question, Robin Coos was asking, what is the fantastic modern quilt on the wall behind them?
Ah, this is Lucy. So this is one of my newest patterns that came out just last October. It's a 10-inch square pattern, and so we will be showing you more of these. So this pattern is, so 10-inch squares and a background. You can use scrappy background, but I used a gray background for this one. And Lucy is quite versatile. She has many facets to her. So, because there's 4 different layouts in the book, and we have 3 different ones I have 3 with me. So this is one of the layouts, and then here's another layout that I used, just a layer cake. This was Mary Starts Here, I believe, and then a grunge background.
And I'm going to show the backing because they always like to see the backing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's pieced.
I like to piece the backings. Yep.
And all of the patterns are on her site. On our site, we're going to have PDFs of all of them.
And there's links to all of these, right? And I wanted to say, because you added a link to the 1/4-inch chart where they can go and print out the 1/4-inch chart.
Yes. Links down in the description below, everyone.
And this is a 3rd layout of Lucy. So I used the turquoise as my background, or the teal. And then I just used grays and blacks for the 10-inch squares. But would you believe me if I said that for this block, you look at it and you have trapezoids and diamonds and little triangles, but would you believe me if you don't sew any of those? You don't sew any diamonds, any triangles, anything. Yes, it's really fun.
On the back, she has like a silver gray Minky dot.
It's a Minky,
like the dot.
The dot.
Yes, I've learned that, the only quilts that my kids want are the ones that have Minky on the back. So they'll fight over those. Doesn't really matter what's on the other side.
That's true.
Yeah, so this, you showed them the pattern. So that's Lucy.
And it's got a lot of sizes: crib, throw, lap, full, queen, king.
Mm-hmm. I always try and add as many sizes as possible.
Oh, and there's diagrams on how you can use the Stripology ruler.
Yeah, so in my patterns and books, since the rulers came out, I always include instructions for the rulers and diagrams because people that have them and use them want that. But I also include instructions for using regular rulers for those that don't have that.
All right. And then we did get some questions submitted beforehand, so I'm going to start going through those. Kathy Abba said, what brought you to America? What year did you move here? Is quilting the same here as it is in Iceland? And how has your quilting journey changed over time? So we can take it one question at a time.
Wow, okay. So we should maybe tell everybody that I am born and raised in Iceland. That maybe not everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. And I moved here in 2003, so I've been here almost 17 years. And quilting brought me here. So I lived in Iceland. I got into quilting kind of by accident, and it just takes you over,
Right.
I got hit by this fabric addiction right away, and so bad that I actually opened a quilt shop.
I didn't know that.
I opened the first Icelandic online quilt shop.
What?
Because they had, when I started quilting, they only had 2 quilt shops in the whole country, and they were both in the city, which was an hour away. Neither of them had an online shop, and they were only open regular business hours. Well, guess what I was doing regular business hours? I was working. So I could never get there. And so I was ordering fabric online from the States all the time. So then I just had this idea. I was pregnant and going to be home with a baby, because in Iceland, we had 9 months maternity leave.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And thought I needed to do something while I was home. So I opened the first Icelandic online shop, which grew really fast. And so a year after that, we opened a storefront. And a year after that, another store in northern Iceland. And that's where I started designing the patterns. And they were all written in Icelandic at first. Wow. And it was actually one of my sales reps from Checker that used to come, the international sales rep used to come and visit me and sell me stuff. And I don't know why he came all the way to Iceland. I think he just loved Iceland and liked to come. But he was really encouraging me to translate those patterns into English because they thought they were really good. He wanted to sell them, and so that was kind of my motivation. And I started just thinking, it'll just be a little extra little thing because I was coming to market, twice a year to shop. So I was just going to bring my patterns and collect a few extra dollar bills and buy some more fabric and go home happy. That was the plan. But it kind of took off. Mm-hmm. And so I saw an opportunity to make it my full-time job, but which was always my favorite part, the designing and creating. So in the fall of 2003, I was in Minnesota 3 months after making the decision. So I sold the stores. I was also running a health club. I was a PE teacher by trade, so I was teaching aerobics and stuff at night. And so I sold everything except for the kids. Did bring them with me.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's been a wild ride. My journey, what'd you say about how it's changed?
Yeah, how it's changed over time.
Over time, yeah. So the kids were very little when I moved. My younger ones were 2 and 3. So there was no traveling involved in the beginning. So I worked from home and I was designing and publishing and really just selling my patterns in quilt shops. And so then as they get older and, things transition, I started opening myself up to teaching and traveling a little bit. And so then escalating into, writing books and creating tools and rulers and
she does a lot of shows, right?
Yeah, that's actually just recently. So now that you're kind of an empty nester, we have the dog, you have a little more flexibility. So 2 years ago, I wanted just to try. I've taught at shows before, but I never really vended. And I realized I was teaching at Road to California 4 years ago, I believe. And my classes were always full, but so many people had never seen my rulers and they were just kind of blown away. So I thought, you know what, instead of showing the 20 people I have in class, I need to be showing this on the show floor. So I wanted to try it. And it was really, really great. So good exposure. So now in those 17 years, we have 21 books and 200 something patterns, 4 rulers and mats, and 2 tools that I've actually created myself. So it's a fun ride and get to travel all over and teach. So we're here going to QuiltCon tomorrow, or setting up tomorrow to vent.
Yes. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. Question from Jenny Gable Johnson. She said, so excited. I've just begun trying to figure out how to use the 60-degree marks on the Stripology XL. Should I have my fabric right sides together or wrong sides together under the ruler to get my angles going the correct direction?
Right. So you saw me just do the 60-degree triangles. So diamonds and triangles, it really doesn't matter. You can keep your strips folded because it's a symmetrical unit. Triangle and a diamond is a symmetrical unit, so it doesn't matter. However, if you want to cut parallelograms, you have to make sure to know which, so you either need to have it right side up or right side down, depending on which side you want that parallelogram to be. Does that make sense?
So you would have to if you had to have them all right side up, you would have to.
If you wanted all your parallelograms to be the same way, I'll just cut one just to show you.
Yeah.
So we have a strip, and that's one of the things we're going to actually be addressing when we talk about my trimmers, the point trimmers. So we'll just cut through the 0 here. And then a parallelogram is where you have not all sides even. So here's your parallelogram, but because I cut this folded, we have one, so this would be, here's a flat side. But the other one is actually a mirror image. So they wouldn't work at the same. So that's why you have to make sure. And this one is something that I use in my Ava pattern. Do we have the Ava quilt? Maybe you can show them that. I'm doing a quilt along for my Ava quilt, actually. It's going on right now. We just did the part 2 of it last 2 weeks ago, and part 3 will be next week. And when I do a sew along, it's fun because I kind of treat it like you're doing a class, so I give you all kinds of extra tips on things. So here is that parallelogram, and you have some going this way and some going the other way. So that's kind of an idea where you can use that.
And the back is awesome.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like to piece my backs. I started doing that because I was really, really bad at putting labels on my quilts. You know how we get, you stress for time. You have to get the quilt finished and off to the show or a photo shoot. I'm sure you guys have that same issue sometimes. And then I always thought, oh, I'll just put the label on later. Well, that later sometimes never happened. So now I just print my logo at least on a piece of fabric, and then I sew it in there. And so it's always in there, and it can't be taken out because you will ruin the quilt if you try and take it out. So a little less chance of people sneaking it away too, because it'll always be recognized. Plus, I love to use up some of my scraps and leftovers from what the front was, maybe some boo-boo blocks,
Yeah, and I always feel like I'm always like, I never have enough for the backing.
Yes.
So then it's like, okay, then I have to like draw the math, and then it becomes pretty.
Yes, exactly. So especially if, two widths maybe not long enough, add a little piece section. It just makes it fun and saves a lot of fabric.
All right. From Heather Martin, she says, hello, I was wondering if there were written instructions with pictures on how to cut bias binding with the Stripology ruler. We're actually going to be filming a video.
Yes.
Gudrun later today too.
So there is a video on my YouTube on folding fabric, both a fat quarter if you're just cutting a fat quarter into bias strips, or a full width fabric, how to fold it to get it so that you can easily cut bias strips. But we're going to be doing one for you guys as well.
All right. Lori Taylor's asking, are you going to be at the Spring Paducah show?
No, I won't. I'm already, I think, I'm booked somewhere else. I know that. But I don't know if that's when I'm going to be on my cruise. I don't think so, but I'm somewhere else, unfortunately.
And then Ann Weber was asking if the mats have a smell to them when you first get them.
Mine
Feedback's been
didn't.
that
No.
they don't.
I took one home and mine didn't.
Yeah, the ones
I
we
haven't
have in
noticed
here, they don't.
Yeah,
Oh,
sometimes.
do some have a smell? I've never known that.
Yeah, some like newer things tend to have like a new plastic smell.
Like skunk.
Maybe around. Oh, that's it would be good if it was like a scratch and sniff something.
Oh my gosh. You know,
Cookies.
one time they
and
sold, like a
sniff
couple
mats.
years ago, Camelot sold scratch
Just
and
a
sniff,
fabric.
like fabric. And
Yes.
it was like Care Bears. I was like, oh, my childhood's right here.
Yeah.
But we didn't buy it.
Oh man, that's
I remember
amazing.
that. I saw that at market. We were doing this game on scratching and trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
It all kind of smelled the same to me,
It
but
did. And then they would be like, well, can you guess the smell? I'm like, I don't know. It smells like stickers.
Okay, Annie Kovas was asking, I've always wondered, since Iceland uses the metric system, how do you deal with the 1/4 inch on patterns and rulers?
Oh yeah, good question. So we use selling fabric, we still use metric. So we use, and it's pretty easy conversion because a yard is 90 centimeters, so it's almost a meter. But we sell in meters. However, all the tools, we get all our supplies from the U.S. and the quarters and inches. It's just so much easier to use for quilting because your seam is a 1/4 inch, and so all the math is much easier. So I always used the imperial measurements for all my patterns, even if I was writing them in Icelandic. And it's pretty common all over Europe. I know some countries still use centimeters for patterns, but I think, with the easier, access to rulers and books and patterns, I think a lot of people kind of are using the inches
I
more
would
and
have
more.
never thought of that.
I know, it's
Yeah.
crazy because the seam allowance in meters is 0.6 centimeters, so you can imagine the math being like
Whoa.
wild. Yeah,
That sounds scary.
I know, it's kind of wild.
All right, and then we have a lot of quilts to show.
Yes.
So we can start bringing those up. Yeah, if anyone has a question, feel free to submit it. Oh yeah, let's clear off the table first. And then we did also just get a super chat for $1.99 from Kathy Plants. Thank you so much, Kathy. Now we get Super Piggy for reals. It says
That
thank
is
you.
the cutest thing.
Thanks.
So we got a couple of, this is an older book, so this was the first Stripology book. And all the quilts in here are made with 1.5 inch strips. So I have, a lot of these patterns are available for 2.5 inch strips as single patterns. But in this book, there's 6 quilts, and they're just so cute. I call them the puppy versions of my big quilts because the blocks are smaller. And these are written for 3 sizes. So we have a mini quilt. This is the mini quilt. This is the Tablerunner. And then the second book was the same idea. So another 6 patterns are in the Stripology 2, and I only have one with me from that. But these are great to use your little scraps and practice your free motion quilting. Do you do any of that?
No. And look, she has her.
Yeah, a little piece back, but I practiced because I thought it was embarrassing to bring this little thing to the long armor.
Oh no, I don't know.
So I tell my students all the time, you just got to practice, makes you better. So I had to eat my words and practice.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have the I get irritated easy, and so I feel like I'm very tense in my shoulders, and so I've never been able to.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm older and don't have kids in my house.
Yes,
Squawking
that helps.
at me.
Glass of wine before loosens you up too.
Yeah, squawking at me.
All right, so this is the latest book, the Stripology Mixology book. This one has 13 quilts, and they're made with all the different pre-cuts. So we have 10-inch square quilts. This is one of the 10-inch squares. This is Stella.
Oh, it's Shannon.
It's Cuddle. And it's, Christmas llamas. Yeah, I just had to buy it.
Oh my goodness, this is so cute.
So this is a super easy quilt. We're gonna demo this in another video. It's so fun, really, really quick. And then we have quilts using 2.5-inch strips and 1.5-inch strips. So this is the one on the cover. It's called Rocky Road. This is a 2.5-inch strip pattern. So I just kind of pulled these from my collection because I wanted a certain colorways, and then the lights are all just scrappy prints with black on it.
And one of the things she sells in her booth now is curated fabrics that she puts together different collections.
Yes.
So if you want your quilts to end up with her look and her style, she's got bundles now. So if you're at QuiltCon, she's going to have bundles.
Yes. It's one of the things that I love putting together and mixing fabric lines, but people struggle with that. They have a hard time. So this is one of the 5-inch square patterns. This is called two-timer. You actually end up with 2 quilts making this. So it's a 1 block. So I took just from because I collect, I have a stash of 5-inch and 10-inch squares and 2.5 and 1.5-inch strips. So I just took a whole bunch of 5-inch squares. It's from multiple different fabric lines. Some are very well aged, and some are actually quite a bit unfortunate, but actually they look fine. So you end up with a square that's a background. So you have a background. You end up with a square that's a background with a colored tip. And then you have another one that's a colored mane and with a white tip. So you get 2 quilts while you're making one. So it's kind of fun.
Awesome.
And they kind of look totally different. One kind of more modern and one more traditional. This is called Camilla. So this is another of the 2.5-inch strip patterns. So again, I like to mix it up and have some scrappiness, but still kind of grouping them together into color families. So play with that. So this has another quilt that has a multiple layouts for it, and of course, multiple sizes.
I like the quilting on this.
Thank you. Yeah, I have.
It's like she did a custom.
Yes, I have about 4 or 5 specialist quilters that do my quilts. It's better than saying that your checkbook takes care of all your quilting.
Yeah.
So this is one of the more popular patterns. So this uses 1.5-inch strips. It's called Strippy Forest. Really fun, easy, and you can make it Christmas. I use Christmas fabric, but you don't have to use Christmas fabric. You can do whatever, because it's just trees. So we have trees year round. So, but really fun. There's another version of this quilt in the book that's got kind of lighter prints and then this golden woven fabric for the background.
Okay, this one's my favorite. I found it yesterday.
Yeah, this is Marina. So this is kind of what I talk about in the book, how you can curate your own pre-cuts and cut them up with the Stripology Ruler. So I'll show you here. So I like to either take fat quarters or half-yard bundles, which is the bundles that I was telling you we sell in the booth. And so here's how I cut them. So I cut the fat quarters or half yards. I cut with a Stripology ruler, of course, a 10-inch square, and then I got 2 2.5-inch strips, and then I get at least 1, maybe 2 1.5-inch strips. So that way I can then curate and use just the fabrics or colorways that I want in a quilt, and I don't have to deal with the pre-cuts being the wrong sizes. You know how they are sometimes not very accurate.
Yeah.
We love them, but sometimes they're not very accurate. And I can then pick all my fabrics, and you don't end up with any unfortunates in there. I don't like to call any fabric ugly.
And sometimes people don't like stitching with the the edge, the zigzag edge. What's that
Oh
called?
yeah, the pinked edge.
Yeah, I mean, some people don't. Some people really do not like that. So.
No. Okay, so this is coral, also a 10-inch square pattern. Very fast and quick one to make. Great for beginners. But this is another one where I just curated because I like the colorways to be a certain way. Yeah, so we have a few quilts from my Iceland book, Quilts of Iceland.
So just so you guys know, all the quilts we showed right now were from the Stripology Mixology
book, yeah, this one.
That one.
So this is the Iceland book. So this is probably one of the more popular patterns in the book. I teach this one a lot. It's called Lupin, but it's a fat quarter quilt. So I just pulled all kinds of purple fat quarters and really fun. And then this is Aurora. You can't write a book about Iceland without giving a little nod to the Northern Lights. So this is again fat quarters, and you just want them to go. So this whole quilt is actually 12 fat quarters and a 3 yards background. And so you want just the fat quarters to go from dark to light and mix it up with fun prints.
And we'll have that book in stock.
Yeah, there's a link in the profile.
Yeah, in a couple of days. She shipped everything.
Glacial ice. So this is kind of based on, if you've ever seen a glacier up close. Have you seen a glacier up close,
No.
Kimberly?
No.
So, in photos, they're usually white, and you think they're white, but they are absolutely not white once you get close, especially glaciers in Iceland, because a lot of them are volcanoes as well. So they have all these cracks and crevices and layers of ash and silt, and so they have all these blues and taupes and grays, and so I just pulled squares from my collection. So everybody asked me, what fabric line is this? I'm like, it's about 15 of them. So, and then this one is a very kind of traditional quilt, another popular one out of the book. So have you seen the Icelandic wool sweaters that have like the printed yolks on them? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I pretty much took that pattern, an old pattern, and turned it into a quilt. So this is my wool sweater, the quilt. It's called lopapeysa, which means wool sweater in Icelandic.
Oh. So all of those were from your book.
Yes, the Iceland book. So now we're going back into these newer patterns. So this is, I started this new line of patterns this fall. It's called, I call them Stripology mixers because they use more than one kind of pre-cut. So this uses 10-inch squares, 5-inch squares, and 2.5-inch strips. So this is Gina. She's super fun because she's got cocktail fabric.
Cute.
In a background, so really fun. Fun to make. Fun to make. And then we have Trinity. Trinity uses 10-inch squares, 2.5-inch strips, and 1.5-inch strips. So for the mixer patterns, I also give you fat quarters. So you can use those units, or you can just pull fat quarters and cut them. This one is really fun, and I actually used one of my trimmers, makes this one come together really easy. So one of the little smaller trimmers works well for this one. And we have another colorway. So this one, because this one's super colorful on the cover, I wanted to show how cool it can be in just neutrals as well. So this is out of stiletto.
And you can see all of her backs are pieced.
Most of them, yeah. I love that.
That's what I do.
It's just fun. This one is Clarissa. No, yeah, it's Clarissa. So this one is great. I wanted to do a pattern that would work really well for those large scale prints. And so this one is perfect for that. Because you want to show them off. You don't want to cut them up too much.
And this is a great way to use K fabric. And that's one of the questions that I get a lot from people in my Facebook group is, what do you do with K? What's a great pattern for K fabric? So I'm going to have to remember this one.
Yep. Cave, or this is Anna Maria Horner. Some of the larger Tula Pink that you don't want to cut up. They're just perfect. Just choose one accent fabric that can kind of stand out from all of them, and that gives you that guide. This is Emma.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know if you knew, but my mom's name is Emma. So
I didn't know
that was kind of the inspiration for that name. But this is a super fun quilt because, of course, it looks like you're cutting this tiny little piece, but my patterns don't work that way. I never make you cut that little stuff. We're always like cutting, sewing, and then squaring up. So all the pieces come together and no seams to match once put together.
What's the name of this one?
This is Emma.
Got distracted.
And then this one is Helena. And this one looks hard because it's got all these triangles and stuff, but this is one of those patterns that you never sew a single triangle. It just all happens in the process.
It's like magic.
Yeah, it's kind of like magic. I'm all about working smarter, not harder.
Quilt magic.
Yes. And we got Roxanne. This one I used a background and then 10-inch squares.
You're making me want to sing that song, Roxanne.
Yeah.
Roxanne. All
I
she
used
wanna
one
do
of
is
those
party.
large. This fabric on the back is the wide cave.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that. Those big flowers.
Yeah, and this fabric is like hard to it's hard to get for us. Like we'll
Yeah.
order it and then it'll be out of stock and then
Yeah, yep. But you could do totally scrappy background too. But this is another block that looks hard because you have these weird shapes, but of course you're never cutting those. You just use the ruler, chop, and play with that. Kira is probably one of my most popular patterns. It's one of the easiest quilts you'll ever make. 10-inch squares, you just pair up two contrasting ones, and again, you don't sew a single triangle, but yet the triangles make the quilt. So really fun.
and you don't have to match any seams.
No, there's supposed to be a gap.
Which is awesome.
And this is Lexie. So another 10-inch square pattern with lights and darks. And I use scrappy lights. I mean, you can see it probably here up close, but when people see this quilt farther away, they think it's all single background. But I love to play with mixing it up. Gives the quilt kind of more movement and fun for a fabricaholic like me.
Fabricaholic.
Just have to use all the fabrics, you know? Can't leave anybody out.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of blue in your quilt.
Yeah, these have all been blue here in the... I try to play with color too, though. So this is Nova, another one which has a bunch of triangles and stars, but you don't sew a single one. Don't sew a single triangle.
Wow.
I can show you a little demo. I have step outs of this. Should we do that?
Yeah.
They're just right over there.
Yeah. And then this is Friday Fiesta placemats. And they're prairie points that are sewn down. So, like, they're there, but they're not.
And that's a quilt as you go. Super
Oh.
quick. Yes. Quilt as you go pattern. I have a lot of quilt as you go patterns. So the first pattern I ever published was a quilt as you go Tablerunner.
I remember that.
Braid Runner. Yes.
I remember
it's
that.
crazy. It's still selling.
That's an amazing name.
And
Braid Runner.
and it's at first I kind of got known for being that
I
quilt as you
remember
go
that.
lady.
Yes, you
I was
were,
the quilt
yeah.
as you go lady.
It was
Although I
hard to
did
remember
understand-
back then. Like, it's been so long since I've
Yeah, there
I've
was
known
no
you for-
social media
yeah,
back
like,
then or
It was
anything.
nice. You could go. You didn't have to do...
Right. All right, so let me show you how the Nova quilt. So, do we have that?
The
Can
Nova
we bring
quilt?
it again? Just
Sorry.
to lay it on the side.
Okay.
So, just to kind of explain, and then do we have the squared ruler?
Yes, I think I have it right. Oh, sorry.
Oh, so nice to have so many assistants. It's awesome.
I wish they were at my house.
I know, right? I'll borrow them. Okay, so because this one I used is scrappy light squares and scrappy dark squares. So you start by cutting both the lights and the darks into these units. So you have a square, 2 small rectangles, and 2 larger rectangles. And then what you're going to do is you're going to border the light square with the dark and vice versa. And then you just, because you press them towards the dark, you're going to stack them up so the seams are all going to nest like this. And then you take your ruler, and this ruler has white center lines going through it, these thick white lines. So what I do, I just center that right on these inner corners of the square. And then we're going to just make 2 cuts through that stack so that now your piece looks like this. It's in 2 parts. And then all you do is you're going to switch the centers. So you're going to sew the light center between the dark outsides, and then the final step is squaring it up. So this one squares up, I believe, to an 8-inch block. So you would just square it up. You have the diagonal lines to line up with all your points in the block. You square it up, and then you end up with a dark version and a light version of the block, so that when they go together, you alternate the light and darks. So then that's when you get those stars, like the stars in the corners. So
And the good thing is it doesn't waste any fabric.
don't waste any fabric.
Because that's our biggest thing. It's like customers, they always tell me, you waste so much fabric, Kimberly. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Because like you were talking
I'm
about.
a stickler on that.
Yeah.
I try to use up, with my fat quarter patterns or whatever, I try to use up the whole thing. So I will sometimes even tweak the pattern, the block, just to be able to use it up. And the best part is, so I always give pressing instructions in my patterns as well. So when you put the blocks together, all those seams will nest too.
Yeah.
They all will kind of match up. So that's kind of the idea behind many of my 10-inch square patterns. So fun little tricks that makes your work a lot easier, makes it easier. So then these are my little patterns. I call them little patterns because they're smaller versions of my big ones. So I call them Little Marina is this one. So these are 5-inch squares used. So they're little charm packs and all just table runners. This is Little Alberta. And then we have Little Roxy. She's one of my favorites. She's so fun to make because these blocks finish at 3 inches.
I like small.
Yeah, but it's so easy to make. People get scared, but it's so easy. And these are great to use the mini ruler, the Stripology Mini.
Small.
Yeah, so we'll be doing some demos on using that one as well. And we have some more littles. These get kind of addicting too, because this is Little Katie, because this is just one charm pack. And, whenever I see a cute charm pack, I'll have to make one.
Yeah.
This is Little Kira. And then we have Little Nellie.
This is our favorite.
Yeah, so cute. And really fun. So just a background and some charms. And Stella, we saw the big Stella earlier. This is Little Stella.
And again, all these patterns you can get on her site
Bless
or
you.
our site today, this week.
Yeah, so
And
this
we're
is...
going to get PDFs of all of these also.
Yeah, I think you already have most of these. So this is Diana. So this one, I love this because it's one charm pack and it takes me about a couple hours to make this. So you see a cute charm pack, it becomes a Diana.
I know, like I have just stacks and stacks of charm packs. I need to use them up.
Yeah, because they're like when you go to a quilt shop, they're like the candy bars at the grocery store.
Check out.
Yeah, all of a sudden there's 5 charm packs in my bag.
Yeah. And they're all fun backings.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to talk about it at the very end of the video.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. Do we have any more questions on any of the quilts?
Yes. We have had questions come up. Let me see. Okay. Roxanne Workoff was asking, what was the name of the pattern that we just did the demo with?
Oh, Nova.
Nova.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then Wendy Stroud was asking if you starch.
I don't starch like you do. I've seen your starching. I don't starch like that.
I should be called the crazy starch lady.
However, if I know my pattern, if I'm working with something that I know I'm going to be cutting a lot of bias or, working with 60-degree angles or something, I will give my fabric a little bit of that magic sizing or something just to have a little more stability. But see, most of my blocks, I square them up. So, you end up with a good piece anyway.
All right. Marilyn LePage says, how do you choose names for your quilts? They are amazing.
Oh, thanks. Well, so that's been one of the hardest things for me. I always blamed it on English being my second language. But after I moved here, it was hard for me to name my quilts. And then for me to remember what I named them. Because there's so many pinwheel that and star this. And it's just endless. So this started my pattern called Nina. I started with that one. And it was a 9-patch quilt, and I didn't want to call it anything like that. So Nina was based on a dice game I saw being played, and they were yelling out Nina, trying to get a 9. So I'm like, hey.
Okay.
So that started it, and then I just loved that I could remember it, people could remember it, and then Iceland is, I don't know if you know this, but Iceland is very kind of known for their female power. So I grew up in Iceland with a female president. She was voted in 1980. She was up against 5 or 6 other men, all politicians. She was a single mom, Democratic election, and she won back in 1980, which is kind of unheard of. But so I grew up always knowing and, you know, experiencing that women can do anything that men can do, and probably just a little bit better. So, also Iceland is very female forward. It's now illegal in Iceland to pay women less than men for the same work, the same job. So businesses actually get big fines if they get caught doing that. So it's my little nod to a little female power, finding strong female names for my patterns. And I always connect it to either something that is taking place when I'm designing it or working on it, or sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a part of the pattern. For example, the Kira pattern, to me it looked like suns. So Kira, the name means sun. Oh. And so that's kind of fun. Lucy, this one just reminded me, I looked at it and it kind of reminded me of diamond. So the first thing that came to my head was Lucy in the Sky. Oh. So that was Lucy. They just take on a name and then you don't forget it. Yeah. And then the extra fun part has been people remember them too, and so they want to make it because their daughter has that name or granddaughters. Right. Now I get emails asking for, you need to do a Zoe, you need to do a this and that. And
that's
so
funny.
But they're fun they're good, they stick, and I remember them. I remember the names first and foremost.
You gotta make a Lily for Lily.
Yeah. Well, there's gonna be a Kim. Wink wink.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. One of the videos we're doing, maybe a little Kim.
Oh, a little Kim.
A little Kim. Nobody's going to get that connection, maybe, except if you
I don't know.
Listen to
it's
rap.
a rapper, but she was married to Big E, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I just know all that stuff.
Love all that stuff.
All right, we had a question from Seven and the Littlest Mew. She said, I'm curious about the rulers, but worried I'd end up cutting right over the ruler. Is this a problem?
Oh. No, they're pretty thick.
They're thick.
And so you won't cut through it at all. I mean, you will stop. The ruler will stop you if you cut all the way through. But once you start using it, you get really used to it. You're not even hitting it. So there's a little bit of a little adjustment, a little learning curve. But once you get used to it, it becomes second nature. So.
All right. And then Teresa says, love your color sense. Do you spend a lot of time picking your fabrics?
I would say no. I love fabric, so I am quite the collector. I love to change things up. I don't like to do the same things over and over. You said there was a lot of blue, but I think if you look at the stack, it's quite colorful. Yeah. I like to try different color combinations. If I see something like this one, Lucy, it happened because I started seeing all these chartreuse fabrics, and I started just collecting them, and it's something that I hadn't done a chartreuse, so I like to play with it. So I don't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I like variety. I like to have options, so don't be afraid of adding to that collection of yours. By the way, your stash should be called collection, not a stash. Stash is negative.
Collection.
It is?
Well, it's gotten this negative connotation to it lately, like, oh, my stash, but your collection should be pristine.
Yeah. Just like you should call your
treasured
your sewing room. Like people call it my sewing room. Like that is my studio.
Yeah.
Don't go in. Like I tell my kids, don't go in
my
studio. Don't touch that door. I'm gonna get a lock on there because they lost something last week. I'm mad. I had a little. Anyway.
I remember that a time when my kids were your kids' age, your fabric scissors.
I had to bribe them last night. I said, there's a bounty on that thing that's lost that I know you took out of there. That one kid who always does everything bad. I'm like, you better find it tomorrow when I get home from work. You better have it. Because I know he hid it on purpose. They go in there and they take stuff. I'm like, don't take my stuff.
Yeah. Or use it. How many times have they used your fabric scissors
for?
Oh,
no. They know. I was screaming.
That was a few
Mom,
times.
Why do you have to get so mad? Because follow the rules. That's why.
One funny thing I have to tell you, my oldest son, and he was a teenager back at that time, but he knew enough that he should not take the fabric scissors or use them. And then it was the time where I just lost them. I couldn't find them anywhere. So couple of years later, he was in college at that point. I was changing stuff in his room, and I took the mattress. There are my fabric scissors under the mattress. So he knew that he was in trouble using them, so he just hid them so I would never find them.
Yeah.
And probably then forgot about it. So it was fun rubbing that in his
God.
face.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not, Lily. It's not funny.
It's after the
Afterwards,
fact.
now
It's funny.
it's funny. Now it's really awesome that, unless they come home now, then things start being in different places. But now it's great. Nobody touches it.
All right, and then a few people were asking if you could just show the covers of the books that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And then Iceland, we're going to have online.
Yeah, and the one that squared is behind us. That one is all, we should maybe grab that one.
Yeah.
That one is all 10-inch square quilts on the bottom. The one on the bottom, yeah.
There you go.
So there's 4 Stripology ones, and then the Iceland book is the one I also use the rulers in.
Yay.
So these 2 are 1.5-inch strips. This one is 10-inch
10-inch.
squares, and then this has all of the different pre-cuts. And some cocktail recipes.
Ooh. It was like,
Yeah.
Look at the doggy. What's the doggy's name?
This is my photographer's dog.
Oh.
Here's some.
Oh.
This is my dog.
Oh.
This is Kobe. Yeah, he was here yesterday. Well, he's here too today, but he travels with us.
Is he in the house that you rented?
He's in the car now.
Oh.
Yes.
oh my gosh. I'll have
It's
to go
on,
out and
right?
meet him.
You just have the air on?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Gotta make sure.
That little baby.
All right.
He gets nervous. So
Oh, yeah.
when we're in a new Airbnb, it takes a couple days until he's okay to be there. So he's more comfortable just in his bed in the car. So he's
I wonder
used to
if
that.
can you take him to QuiltCon or not?
Probably not inside. I don't know, unless it's a service dog, but he's not really
Oh,
a service
yeah.
dog.
Yeah, I don't think the convention center lets you.
No.
Because Austin's pretty progressive with that stuff. I was trying to tell her what restaurant she could go to. What
Yeah.
did you eat last
She
night?
went to.
We went to the one, the Mexican place you told us.
Oh,
and-
did you like it?
Yes, it was very good. So
Okay.
we sat outside and Kobe was with us.
Yeah, see, I
That's-
told her.
Gave
I
him
can't
water
even
and
remember the
everything.
name of the place. What did I tell her?
Gueros. That's
Gueros.
Gueros
I can
on
never, yeah.
South
I haven't been there in
Congress.
a long time since Kevin's sister came like a couple years ago, and she likes like eclectic things. So I was like, oh, she'll love this, and she did.
Yeah. It was very good.
But we don't really ever go anywhere. There's too many people. When you have a party of 6, you can just forget going anywhere good because you can't get in.
Right. And by the time you're seated and ordered, the kids are
Yeah, they don't want to go.
at each other's hair. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, last night it's so funny. I was supposed to pick up dinner at Chili's, so you call the order in, and then I was like driving by Chili's. I'm like, oh, I gotta go turn around. Like I can't even remember to pick up dinner, much less cook it. It's like it's a car
Oh, we've
accident.
all been there. All been there.
And then Julie Chestnut had a fun, relatable comment. She said, "My son stole my Stripology ruler for his leather work. He is a saddle builder. I'm going to
Oh.
have to get me the new one and hide it."
Yes. Did he ruin it or did it work well for
I wonder
him?
if it works.
That'd be interesting to know.
Let us know, Julie.
Yeah, I've heard paper crafters love the Stripology, and wool cutting the little strips for the rug hooking, all kinds of things.
Batting.
Of course,
I could see you using it for the batting
Batting
for the jelly
strips.
roll. The jelly roll. What is that called?
and then
jelly roll.
the tie blankets. It's perfect for the tie blankets to the fleece tie blankets.
Yeah, and then the jelly roll. What is it? The jelly roll strip. The rug. Jelly roll rug.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and then we had 2 new YouTube members,
Yay.
Damaris to Jesus.
And we're gonna have
the
like
history.
behind
Yay.
the scenes pictures today, and then we're gonna have another perk this week. Later.
Yes, for members. And then JS Higginbotham. Welcome, JS. Yay! More confetti cannons. Okay. And then I always have to ask this question to guests.
Oh, here it comes.
What is your favorite food or dish to eat?
Ooh, that's really. I'm a kind of a foodie.
Kind of.
Oh yeah, I'm
She
a foodie.
is.
I'm a foodie. So it would depend. If I'm in Iceland, Icelandic lobster. There's nothing like it. It's just nothing like it. And so that would be my, if I could just have one thing, anything, that would be it. I love vegetables. I'm semi-vegetarian unless I'm in Iceland and eat some seafood. So yeah, I don't know. I love most vegetables. So that's heaven for me when I can go somewhere where they have a variety of that. But probably lobster.
And then, Kimberly, we've heard your favorite food, but what is like your favorite thing you've had in the last week?
I don't know. Okay, I went to Saltgrass and had fried shrimp. I'm pretty basic.
Oh.
What is your favorite food, though?
Favorite food? Tacos from Taco Bell.
From Taco Bell?
Yes, it's some good stuff.
Hey.
Good. Like if you just, I don't know. I pretty much eat the same thing every day. I get tea in the morning, scone in the afternoon, I get a sandwich for lunch, and then half the time I don't eat dinner. Like half the time because my kids they want to eat just crap. And so I'm like, okay, just by the time I get home, they've already eaten. So I'm like, forget it, I'm not going to eat. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I had like a life, but I don't. So it's just like I eat when I can eat, but I don't know. I don't ever go anywhere good or anything. I am going I'm going to dinner this Wednesday to I'm going to Perry's Wednesday night with a sales rep. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to have a filet. I'm excited about that. Merlot, and I'm good. Filet and Merlot, I'm good with that. That would be good.
The latest best thing I ate was the breakfast taco that you got me this morning.
Where did you get it?
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the place, but it's in San Marcos. It's
It's corn tortilla,
No, it was a
black beans,
vegan
sweet potatoes. It was
place.
very good.
Oh.
Avocado.
Yeah. We'll find out from Kate. Kate picked up food
Very
this
good.
morning. So thank you, Kate. Good call. Also, lots of people are saying in the chat they also love Taco Bell.
Taco Bell's
So you
good.
are not alone.
And
I lived on that.
Okay, who doesn't know what an
Back in the
enchilada is? Like, they need to bring the enchilada back. That is the best food there ever was, ever.
Wait, what? What was that?
Enchilada, it was like
I
in
don't
the
know what that
80s. So, like, we used to be broke. No money, none. And so my mom would be like, you can go to Taco Bell and you can have one thing. Because it was back when Taco Bell was expensive, so we could get one thing. It's like an enchilada, like a white person's enchilada, because it's like a flour tortilla and then a bunch of beef and then cheese and that Taco Bell sauce. Oh, so good. They don't make it anymore. So, but you can go and you can say, do you have an enchilada? And some stores will say yes.
Oh.
Some.
I was like the cheapest date back in the day when I was in high school. So I spent a year in Florida as an exchange student. So I went to high school. So I know Taco Bell back in the 80s.
And it was expensive.
Yeah. But I was still cheap because for me it was enough for me to get one soft taco. That was dinner and no water. So it was like 69 cents.
Yeah.
So it was a very cheap date, but that was good. That was all I needed.
Yeah.
It was back when I was this skinny. So not anymore.
Kate said it was Joe's Cafe in San Marcos,
Oh.
where we got the food from. So if you're in San Marcos
Very nice.
ever.
Awesome.
All right. Kim Mellison said, will you be at Quilt Canada in June?
No, I will not be there. I will be in Iceland in June. My sister's getting married, so I have to go.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
exciting.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. And then, Julie Chestnut getting back to us on her son. She says he loves it. He actually has 2 of them now.
Oh, great.
So he uses both.
That's awesome.
That's really great to hear. I have to.
So I wonder if you can cut leather with the rotary
yeah.
cutter, you think?
Yeah.
I would think it's a slightly sharper, different rotary cutter, but yeah. Or let us know,
I'm sure-
Julie, if I'm incorrect.
I'm sure you can do it with a regular.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking now, like, the people that make the little leather cuffs and stuff,
Oh,
you can
yeah.
cut
Oh,
really
that's
tiny
true.
strips.
Oh, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if anyone has any more questions, you can leave them in the comments below. Kimberly, if you want to tell us about...
So we're going to have a giveaway. So after we publish the video, not right now, but like after Lily publishes it, we would love for you to comment on YouTube or Facebook and just tell us what's your favorite thing or your favorite quilt that Gudrun showed us today, and which one are you looking forward to making the most. And then we're going to give away some books that she signed. So, and thanks for watching. Come visit her at QuiltCon. I will be at QuiltCon Thursday from like 12 to 2, something like that. We're going to be giving away free little enamel pins. So if you find me or Lily or anybody who works at Fat Quarter Shop, and I can maybe leave some at her booth, we'll give away some little things. So see you
Very cool.
there.
Yes.
And make sure to check out Gudrun's YouTube channel.
Yes.
And our YouTube channel if you have not.
And her Facebook group.
And the
And her
Facebook
Facebook group. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.